look at Crosby now, because this time last year it was revealed that the village in Sefton would be getting a helping hand with its regeneration. With a new discount store in place and the 1930s Glen buildings being turned into retail space, things are looking up for the area. Well, our reporter Claire Minter went along to the George Hotel to meet Councillor Michael Roche, and he gave her a potted history of Crosby Village.
About 10 years ago, the village started deteriorating, and before that, along with every other high street in the country, the council came up with a plan to try and regenerate the area because it's an economic asset, both to the people who trade here and also to the people who work here and to the people who come and shop. There was a plan at one point for a major retailer to build a huge superstore in the village, and which would more or less resume the village. That was rejected, but partly because of the recession. That never came to fruition. They bought up most of the village so they could build this, and the properties went into decline. Eventually they were bought by St Modman's, who are now starting to regenerate the village. They've refurbished 15 properties, and they're all just about to come back into use again. The buildings themselves that they've refurbished are Art Deco style buildings built by the Masonic Lodge in 1939, and they're absolutely beautiful. The work they've done on them is beautiful to look at.
I'd imagine at that time, or obviously some probably would have been happy, but a lot of people must have been like, what next for our village?
Yeah. We had a group set up called A Better Crosby, who put in a bid for the Mary Portas funds that were available, and they did win a grant. Also, the council put a fund together, and we set up a group called the Crosby Town Team. They've been very active in supporting especially the Christmas events and events going on in the village during the year. This Saturday we had the Switch On event where we had nearly 80 performers. There was about 2,500 people turned up at the peak time.
And how have your local small businesses been doing? How are they still, a lot of them still hanging on, or are they doing okay?
Yes, but like this pub here, this has gone from being not very well liked by the community into one of the star assets of the community.
What's coming next then?
The council don't know because the developer won't tell us who's going to move in or when they're going to move in. They did say that the people they're talking to aren't particularly bothered whether they move in before Christmas or after Christmas.
Right.
I can see one of the shops looks almost ready, so I imagine at least one. And I know there's already two that are going to be in those buildings. That's the Blues Bar and Tuition.
So, Michael, we're outside the Glen buildings with the wonderful 1936 emblazoned on them, and I've got to say they're looking good. But the whole area as well, I mean, you've got new lights, you've got festive lights up as well for the Christmas period.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about the fixtures and fittings, because a lot's changed there as well, hasn't it?
2 years ago we had an application from McCarthy Stone to build 47 retirement apartments at the end of the village. That's been finished. As part of their planning agreement, they donated a large sum of money to brighten up the village a bit. So we had all our lampposts refitted and repainted, and all the lamps were changed into a more modern design with LED lights, and festoon lighting fitted right through the village to brighten the place up because it looks great for people.
And you've got a defib as well, I saw, and that's a great thing for a village these days to have one of them.
Absolutely, yeah. It was raised by all the traders and their customers, and they raised over £1,500 to buy the defibrillator, get it fitted, and since it's been installed, which is only earlier this year, it's been used twice to save lives.
So to any of those doubters who have sort of seen the village going a little bit downhill down the years...
Despite what people would have you believe, the traders that are in Crosby Village, and there's many of them, have been thriving. They're doing really well. And this can only make it 100 times better. Yeah. And the sooner new businesses come and move into the village, the better. And it can only go right to the top.
As you may or may not know, I live in Crosby, and it would be great to see a thriving town centre, village centre, whichever you want to call it, again. Because it has looked tired in the past. If you live in Crosby, you might want to let me know what you think of that, or maybe you visit quite regularly. But I think it needs perhaps a few more high street names as well, because at present there isn't really that many big names in the village. So